All right, so now the M in phantoms for make a decision about the null hypothesis. So to make a decision, we need to compare the p-value to the level of significance. So in this case, our p-value was approximately 0.0142, and the level of significance that they gave us to compare to was 0.10. Okay, so this is definitely smaller than 0.10, which means we reject HO. Okay. That probability in that tail was so tiny, which meant that our value of x bar was far enough from the claimed value of mu that we think it's an unusually low value. So we're going to reject their claim and conclude instead that we think the mean is lower than what they stated. So finally, our last step here in phantoms is to state a conclusion in the context of the problem. So our final step is never to leave the wording as we reject HO. Okay, nobody knows what that means or what the context and the story of the problem was. So in this case, we're going to say that there is significant evidence to conclude. So if we're going to reject the null hypothesis, that means we think the alternative one is actually the true statement. So we're going to say there is significant evidence to conclude that the mean lifetime of all these types of batteries, which were what, XJ35 batteries, is less than 500 days. Now, we didn't conclude that simply because we had an x bar of 490, which was less than 500. It's because we had an x bar that was lower than 500, and it was enough lower to make the p-value really tiny. Okay, so that's it. That's what a hypothesis test looks like. The acronym PHANTOMS will help you remember the 8 steps that need to go into a formal hypothesis. In the next section of this chapter, we're going to see how to use the following tests on the TI-84. Where actually that probability computation is going to be made for us with just one button click, which will be nice. Something called the one sample t-test and the one proportion z-test. So one more comment about the conclusion and interpretation. So first, the conclusion is that we either reject HO or we fail to reject HO. And why was it said like that? So it's because we never accept the null hypothesis. So when we failed to reject it, we didn't say we accepted it. And the reason for that is because all of the computations are made assuming the null hypothesis is true, and then seeing how unusual it would have been to see our sample results, or ones even more extreme. So since the procedure originally starts by assuming the null hypothesis is true, you can't use this procedure to prove the null hypothesis is true. It's an underlying assumption to begin with. Okay.